the collapse of Silicon Valley and the crash heard around the world.
So many useless meetings. Some banks will sell their souls, some banks just feel real old. I wish they weren't so, but I still wake up, I still have the dream. Oh Lord, I still know what I stand for. I stand for honesty, stand for integrity. Most days, it's so hard to...
Once I went down, I knew I was heading to the bottom. Like, I was going to tumble all the way to the bottom. You just kind of get beat down. I equated to like getting hit by linebackers over and over again. If you're in the game and you're at the top of the game, you know that it's only a matter of time before you go down, and you got to take your hit.
I get much more done. Here we help each other win. The whole team pitches in. Work hard, trust as well. We like all kinds of styles.
This can't be right, can't be right. I wanna help my clients not be a blight. Stop my bones from wandering just how I...
When I dropped in to ski it, the light was really tricky on the line. There was a lot of dark shadows, and it looked like I was skiing into this really dark abyss.
How can I? How can I? How can I do my best?
Come join the bank of best. We will do the rest. We do banking like it should be done. Stand strong, make the change. Forget the past and then.
Good evening and greetings to everyone in all of our Telegram chats. And greetings, guests, who will be watching this video later outside of one of our Telegram chats. I'm gonna talk to you about some sinister shit, no cap. Tonight, I would like to talk to you about Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is a place where silly con men, cut-out boy kings, are made. People are impressed with Silicon Valley people.
Canadian veteran and political activist Jeremy Mackenzie, known as the Raging Dissident, was just notified that he can no longer do banking in Canada.
As part of ending the relationship towards it today, you're not to visit any of the Scotiabank branches or bank premises in person without first getting written consent in advance from the bank, from management. So
I'm banned from the bank.
But it doesn't matter if you are a political activist or an obedient sheep, because the banks are planning on taking all of your money to pay off their debts.
I mean, it's a little bit conflicted, right? I mean, it's important that people understand they can be bailed in, but you don't want a huge run on the institution. But they have, I mean, they're going to be. That's
the FDIC currently has less than $200 billion in assets to insure over $9 trillion. That's just 1.3%. They know that a system collapse is coming, and they are already planning for bail-ins. As trust begins to fail, the people will begin to withdraw their funds, which will only guarantee a banking collapse. This is known as a bank run. In 2012, the International Monetary Fund, known for their reputation of coercion, violence, and extortion, published staff discussion notes entitled From Bailout to Bail-In: Mandatory Debt Restructuring of Systemic Financial Institutions. After the 2008 crisis, the world learned what a bailout is: trillions of taxpayer dollars printed out of thin air to pay off the bankers' bad habits. It was hugely unpopular, but pales in comparison to a bail-in. So what exactly is a bail-in? It is officially obfuscated with elaborate equations, but to put it simply, it is when the bank steals your money directly from your account. They called it haircuts when they did it in Cyprus back in 2013, which the courts later ruled was legit. And a recent video on TikTok shows that the new bail-ins may have already begun.
So I'm a Bank of America and everybody's missing money. I'm also missing money over $1,300 and they're telling me to call customer service. And they keep hanging up on people. This another person here is also missing money. So we're trying to see what's going on. Money's missing today and we need our money. And they're already telling us to call customer service. And customer service ain't doing nothing about it. So just a heads up, if anybody's experiencing this, please let us know because this is not right. I'm missing $1,400 from my account, and they're telling me that there's no way they can help us. This guy's missing money too. This other person missing money too. And you missing money too? There you go. So this is not something that's just one person. This is everybody's happening to them. And this is crazy. This is very crazy. Yes, Bank of America decided to take people's money without their consent. And we're asking what's going on, and they're giving us a runaround. Everybody for the same thing, man. Same thing.
We take this opportunity to thank you for viewing Channel 8. And now, as we say good night and good morning, we invite you to join us tomorrow for another full day of news.
Mana mana. Mana mana.
Girl, why don't you just understand why I've got to be your man? Why don't you let yourself go? Don't you know?
People in Silicon Valley think they're very important. They're all commies and woke scum, enemies of the Republic. Mostly hostile to America and Americans. And defo anti-MAGA. All of them. That Silicon Valley Bank SVB is a CCP Khazarian Mafia bankster laundering front for tens of billions of dollars of your money. The Silicon Valley backers and the Federal Reserve Khazarian bankster mafia and the private big banks of the US and Europe and the CCP didn't just bail out the $250,000 per depositor required by the FDIC. They bailed out every single dollar of all depositors, even people with over $250,000 or even millions above the FDIC insured amount. I'll just cut to the chase. I believe this SBV bank was nuked by Pete Thiel. Now, I'll talk about why. This is a very deep subject, and I'm not going to go over every little detail. There are many, many moving parts to this vast conspiracy. I'm going to make it make sense and keep it simple as best I can, given the complexity of this vast criminal conspiracy taking place against you and me and everybody right now. When asked if the Fed will help smaller banks and their depositors around America, Janet Yellen, head of Treasury, Khazarian Mafia, said bluntly no, they would not. The smaller banks are not, quote, systemically important. That means you and your family and their little bank will not be given your money back. If it's in a non-essential bank, to the people who make money out of nothing and give it to only their cronies and minions. Are you getting the picture now?
I see so many people talking about the train derailment at East Palestine, Ohio. And all I'm going to ask is that if you do this, you get your facts right. I literally grew up right down the road from East Palestine. My old childhood best friend lives in the fucking town. My current best friend literally lives right next to the town. It is so much worse than what the media is telling any of us. I'm getting reports from people that are down there right now that they're literally seeing schools of fish floating down streams, rivers, fucking dead. I got a video from my friend, okay? And she's like walking, dude. It's all fucking dead. All fucking dead. And on the top of the water is a really pretty chemical rainbow sheen. The chemicals are in the fucking water and they're lying to the rest of the country saying they're not. The water's been contaminated. The soil's been contaminated. The fucking air is contaminated. You literally are about to see some of the worst fucking health side effects coming out of people in that town. It's not even funny. And y'all want to know something even more fucked up? The restaurant that I work at in a whole different state had to donate food to them because we had people from the churches calling to tell us that Red Cross never fucking came, FEMA never fucking came, the environmental conservationists still have yet to fucking come, and nobody's fucking helping them. Meaning all of the fucking firefighters that were working get no food, have nothing to help them, nothing. Okay, all the people that were displaced have no food, water, a place to stay, none of that shit. It is so much worse than what they're telling you, and TikTok probably won't even let me post this video, but if this video gets posted, please save it and repost it everywhere you fucking can, because I'm telling y'all, they are covering this shit up. They are covering this shit up because they don't want to get out how bad it actually was. This was not good. This was the worst fucking thing that's happened probably in the past 8 years. That entire town is basically unlivable now because of the fucking chemicals. And they're lying, telling civilians that it's safe, knowing damn well, because I took chemistry and I know chemicals and I have this awesome fucking supercomputer in my hand. The side effects from breathing in those chemicals, they're covering shit up. They're covering shit up. They're covering shit up. But it's not surprising.
My money going out on the town, doing anything just to get you off of my mind. But when the morning comes, I'm right back where I started again. And trying to forget you is just a waste of time. Baby, come back. Any kind of fool could see there was something in everything about you. Baby, come back. You can blame it all on me. I was wrong, and I just can't live without you.
That means there's not enough CCP Khazarian Mafia money in them. So those people can just lose everything. They're not important. This cannot and will not stand. This is what I have been waiting to happen for decades. Those of us who have been watching and waiting, preparing, are chomping at the bits right now. We are about to put our foot on their necks, finally. We will make our own functioning money too, thank you. We don't need or want your central bank globalist CBDC shitcoins. when we have so many better monies to choose from now? But Mr. Pink, how can you say that? You just said they bailed out their banks but won't bail out the little guys. Doesn't that mean we're all screwed? Says the scared boy. No, it doesn't. It means they are screwed. Their entire system is crashing down. Not just their financial economic system. Their system encompasses much more than just the money. Their media is dying too, as is their entertainment industrial complex and their big tech monopoly. Hollywood has sunk to its lowest level in history under the groaning strain from the oppressive tyranny of the woke mind virus. Everyone can see it now. Only the most brainwashed mouth breathers and libertarian smart boys are still repeating the programming like broken parrot records. Yak! Diversity! Yak! Use my pronouns! Yak! Puberty blockers for kids! These people think they're a large and in-charge majority, when in fact, they are a tiny, hated, and despised minority, living in blue-pilled bubble world, in lawless hellscapes of zombies and brutal violence. Crime in each and every single one of their biggest captured cities. These are the enemies of the Republic. Demon rats. I propose a law banning all political parties that have ever supported slavery. That will take care of these scum permanently. Fuck all the wheeling and dealing. Crush them. Crush them and crush them again. But I digress. We do want to do that, but that comes next. First, you need to know about Silicon Valley and why it's so important to what's going on right now all around you. Blah.
And so thank you for coming on, and thank you for your service to our fallen republic. Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. I want people to know first that this is not just New Hampshire. New Hampshire is a clearinghouse, and it affects this country. For instance, the Pandora Papers, $932 billion that's in the state of New Hampshire, that's corrupt politicians across our country. It's drug cartels, the distribution networks is across this country. And that same network of protection is the federal government, from the FBI to the DEA to the IRS and the Treasury helping launder their money. So it's all encompassing.
It certainly is, and that's how I became a whistleblower when I exposed the DEA how to deal with the Sinaloa cartel to run drugs north in exchange for the fast and furious guns going south. But you've discovered much more than that. And the government has really become a corporate cartel. But can you walk us through your story of how you discovered this and then began to uncover it and fight it?
Okay. I first want to explain to people that it was a victim of circumstances, not one that I would wish on anybody. I had built the largest volume mortgage brokerage firm in the United States by volume, and that is recognized by Fannie Mae. Multiple awards, and even to the point that they would use my images and my information as training tools. So I became an expert at banking, particularly through the mortgage industry. I also, because of my success, built the largest thoroughbred racing stable, the Sport of Kings, the elite of the elite, and became the world champion. Now I want you to know that I went to school to be a priest. My family, we grew up extraordinarily poor. So there was no head start, there was no helping hand. I did what I did with insight and strategy. I have limited talents, so many other areas, but in these few areas, well, you can't argue the results. And what happened was that made me a banking expert, also uncovered a Ponzi scheme in the state of New Hampshire. That in 402 mostly elderly, were victims of this Ponzi scheme. It's called financial resource management, if you choose to Google. And what it was it was tied to an attorney that happened to be one of my attorneys, Bill Shaheen, Hillary Clinton's co-chair, husband to Senator Jean Shaheen, leading lobbyist across the country for opioid industry and the insurance industry, which is more related than you know. So he was a power broker. He controlled the governors in the state of New Hampshire for many years, including his wife, Senator Jean Shaheen, previously was a governor, and so was Maggie Hassan that he controls. And from the governor's position is a very important position. It appoints the Attorney General within the state. And that's how you build a network of protection. So when I uncovered this Ponzi scheme, I came to realize that the banking department was involved in the Ponzi scheme. Peter Hildreth was the banking commissioner. Two of his brothers were on the Ponzi scheme as investors and owners, along with Bill Shaheen as being the head of this. I had a second attorney who was another president of a law firm. And why I had Bill Shaheen as the president of his law firm and Alex Walker, the president of Divine Millimat, if you become wealthy, they find you. If you don't have a problem, they'll see that you get a problem. And that's how that works. I approached Alex Walker and explained that it was Bill Shaheen's Ponzi scheme and the banking commissioner was in on it. He told me to shut up, be quiet, and never mention this again. Walker was part of the protection of the banking department. How the methodology to lose your state is these large law firms get together and they infiltrate your AG's office with their corrupt lawyers. Those lawyers, in time, become judges, a network of corrupt judges. The worst of them become politicians. You ever wonder why so many lawyers are politicians? So what happens is, from that AG's office, they corrupt your departments within the state. Your banking department becomes a laundering network. Education becomes a den of thieves. So Shaheen created this money laundering network, but also the protection of it. By controlling the governor, you appoint the AG, and with their control, they assigned their own person into the banking commissioner. So now that you have this entity of protection first, because if you control the courts all the way up to the U.S. Attorney's Office and prosecutions with the FBI, you become judgment proof, prosecution proof. You can't go to jail. Now think about this. Ready? Everything always makes sense. I approach this extraordinarily logically, like I would turning a page in a roadblock in a business. So who would this service be the most valuable to? Obviously the most corrupt, or also the most evil. Now what's more evil than drug cartels, which are also your human traffickers, which is also tied to child trafficking and organ donors? The most evil of us. They need protection most of all, and they will pay for it with the dark money that can't be traced. There was the offer, and this, I mean, it's like the field of dreams. What they say, if you build it, they will come. Well, Shaheen built it 30 years ago and counting, and they came. So in this laundering network, now today known as the Pandora Papers, but let's not forget, over 10 years ago, I called out New Hampshire as the deep state laundering network. I've done many videos and exposed this. In fact, I've sent you some information where I turned down $50 million in writing. Now remember, I was a wealthy man. $400 million. So what I found was this laundering network. They tried to buy me out. Now you see this 50 million settlement. In fact, you can go to the video, the list that was on State of Corruption, YouTube, and you see me go over the names of the releases. That same Bill Shaheen, the architect of this network, he's on the $50 million settlement. So is the IRS. So is the Department of Revenue that collects taxes from within the state. So is the banking department and the banking commissioner. Now, what you should pay attention to is the fact that each and every one of those entities are auditing entities. Do you know how they created this money laundering network? By controlling everything that audits. We're talking the federal government in the IRS and state government. They are protected. There's a law in the state of New Hampshire, and I'll get into that more with James O'Keefe, but the banking commissioner previously, Jerry Little, was a state senator. He wrote a bill. That bill says if the banking commissioner trusts you, we don't have to audit. Well, guess what? That's a get out of jail free card. Opened the door to the Pandora Papers around the world to park their monies in hidden LLCs and trusts. That's where that money comes from. And again, understand what 932 billion represents. The defense budget of this country is 700 billion. So for that small state of New Hampshire, they have more money in hidden assets than we do in our own defense of this country, which is 2 and 3 times greater than all the countries around the world. That's the level of corruption. See, all you have to do is believe this. Do you believe there is corruption? Do you believe there is such a thing as drug cartels and human traffickers? Then logically you have to believe that they're putting their money somewhere. They have to be cleaning their money to use it. They're not doing this as a free service. There it is. And that dark money is what buys politicians.
The problem with drug money, people may not know, is they've got so much of it, it's hard for them to launder it anywhere. So, I've seen it in inside walls. So this is not a stretch at all, what you're saying. But when you say the cartel, are you saying the cartels are all together? And what about what I call the Pfizer cartel, the legal cartel? I haven't made a connection directly to them, although I see that. But get more specific about the cartels.
Okay, I will. Because I uncovered what I believe is the largest cartel in this country. Now, is there more than one cartel? There is. But I believe this is the largest, and the largest by far. The head of this cartel, his name is Dick Anagos. His front people are Andy Cruz, who is now the president of the lottery, another extension of money laundering, which gives licensing to his chain of casinos, which again is tied into money laundering, and Bill Greiner. Greiner is the chairman of the board of the cartel bank Primary, and he's also his political asset as far as moving politicians in place to protect this network of corruption. So what they do is they own treatment centers, hospitals, pharmacies, hospice care, along with casinos and strip clubs. I mean, it's the series Ozarks on steroids. So he's also the leading real estate holder, commercial and residential. Own business restaurant chains. He is a multi-billionaire. But what this dark money buys? It buys protection. It buys those courts. It buys the politicians. In fact, it invests into the politicians before they even run. The DEA, I showed you, I sent over a video. Mike Gill delivers evidence to the DEA again. The DEA protects the cartel. They are partners. Think of this, ready? The largest seizure of fentanyl in this world was the evidence you see me deliver on camera to the DEA. And if I didn't have it on camera, there wouldn't have been any seizure. And shortly after this, they tried to murder me 3 times in 13 days. Because I also had the heads of the cartel on message centers across highways. Because the FBI wouldn't do anything, the DEA wouldn't do anything. I came to that understanding, so I took it to the people and outed all these criminals. But that seizure, ready? An 80,000 pound capacity tractor trailer full of fentanyl in the multiple tons. The previous record was 254 pounds. Now, the head of the DEA, Jack Riley, proclaimed New Hampshire ground zero for opioids, right after I gave them their largest seizure in history. Well, think about this now. Ready? The Pandora Papers is the largest money laundering network in the history of the world, as it is proclaimed by over 100 journalists. And what people don't realize is New Hampshire is the manufacturing center of assault rifles for this country. So let's think about this. The small state of New Hampshire is ground zero for opioids, money laundering, and guns. Now, how's that? The small state of New Hampshire. That is what I'm talking about. That statistically, that is impossible. Impossible. It is a clearinghouse. Now, for those who have asked why New Hampshire, well, one, it's completely corrupt. But think about this. If you were to hide not just the money, and they consider their money extraordinarily precious because it's also the way in of catching them. So don't you think we can't win, but you find their money and how they clean it is that path. So it is the most protected path. The FBI, Boston FBI, there is no more corrupt office than the Boston FBI. They control all of New England, not just Boston, not just Massachusetts, but New England with the exception of Connecticut. They have the DEA that's in the same town as the cartel, Bedford, New Hampshire. The police chief of the small town of Bedford of 23,000 is a guy named Bryansky. He was the head of the DEA Mid-Atlantic with 300 agents working for him. It is ground zero in protection. They wanted to move El Chapo to that same Bedford location that I called out on video that got that seizure. The same Bedford, New Hampshire that the cartel lives in. Google it. They wanted to move El Chapo there. Trump stopped that move. I know because I talked to their aides and told Trump's people, Lewandowski was his name, the campaign manager, if you move El Chapo there, he's gone. And that was the intention. So, again, that partnership, and think of that dark money. The DEA and the FBI, they're not out there writing books. They're not out there being paid by lobbyists. So what would make them corrupt? The dark money of the cartels. The special agent and FBI make $71,000 a year on the average. We don't have corrupt cops? What makes you think there's a line in the sand between corrupt cops and corrupt FBI agents? There's not. They're owned. I have evidence, and President Trump, I hope you're listening. The fact that our Coast Guard in Miami is meeting cartel boats, unloading fentanyl and drugs, and bringing them to the Miami FBI. From there, there's a pipeline of distribution, one of which goes to New Hampshire. I have a recording of 2 FBI agents on the phone with a cartel member talking about the sale and movement of drugs. That's right. There's no doubt about what's going on. They are in our face. They are challenging you. What's happening now is what people... Go ahead, Jeff.
What year did you discover this?
Well, are you referring to the FBI taking drugs off the boat?
Yeah, FBI, DEA, because
in 2016.
2016. Okay, so in '93 was my first big 18-wheeler seizure of marijuana, and then later on, 2,000 pounds of cocaine on horseback in Nogales. So what you're saying rings very true for me, and it took me a long time to realize it. But I just wanted to see the time frame for this. But yeah, the FBI is corrupt, the DEA is corrupt. That is very clear. But I just wanted to see the time frame because I think everybody is now waking up because of the ability of social media to put this stuff out. But go ahead, please.
Well, you mentioned social media. Why do you think social media was controlled so badly by the FBI? Twitter, Facebook? Because in any, and I know you're a major, so you know this, what is one of the first things you take out in a war or a battle? You take out communications. They know what our advantage is our numbers. By turning around with these numbers, how we have to use them is by communications, which is what we're doing together right here and now. We have to inform the people what the media isn't, because the media is owned by this corruption. The same members on the pharmaceutical board are on the same boards of the media. They are intentionally dividing us. I met with hundreds and hundreds of victims, started State of Corruption, which became an intelligence organization. I never asked anybody their race or their politics or their religion. I met with people that needed help. I mean, the one thing that unites us all is that we want a future for our children. They are taking that. Don't understand this, right? The war is about control. How do the few control the many? That's 87,000 IRS agents armed. That's digital currency, where they can shut off you from your money and your assets with a flip of a switch. That's control. That's the movement. Everything that we're seeing and experience is a plan, right down from COVID, right down to inflation. You don't think the feds knew? I mean, I was in the mortgage industry. There was a thing called reversed yield curve. It's when the short end of the bond market yields are higher than the long end, which is unnatural, but not in the time of inflation. They knew it was coming. Biden in the single year printed 60% of the whole currency ever printed in this country in a singular year. Now remember, I told you everything makes sense. So if you flood the market with currency, you devalue the currency. You devalue your currency, the currency has to be used more to buy. That's the inflation that we're experiencing. And then you combat that with raising rates. They knew exactly what they were going to have to do, which slides us into a recession. Your housing market values are going to plummet. So think about this. I am telling you, it's all by design. It's all by control. That's what we're doing.
I got your offshore bank accounts, your real estate, your businesses, all bought with money from heroin. And I got hundreds of parents of dead kids, addicts who OD'd on your product, and that's my story for the jury. That's how I make it all stick. This man murdered thousands of people, and he did it from a penthouse driving a Lincoln. Aside from that, you got nothing to worry about.
That's pretty good, but that's why we go to court, isn't it, Richie? Because I got witnesses too. I got celebrities, I got sports figures, I got Harlem, Richie. I took care of Harlem, so Harlem's gonna take care of me. You can believe that.
I got more than that, Frank.
What you got?
I got a line of people wanting to testify against you that stretches out the door and around the block. You damaged a lot of lives, Frank. I got the Mazzano crime family. Remember those boys? You put them out of business.
I ain't got nothing to do with no Mazzanos. Mazzanos ain't got nothing to do with me.
They got everything to do with you.
What they
You know
got?
why?
Why?
Because apart from the fact that they hate you personally, they hate what you represent.
I don't represent nothing but Frank Lucas.
You sure? Black businessman like you? You represent progress. The kind of progress that's going to see them lose a lot of money. With you out of the way, everything can return to normal.
My man. You know what normal is to me, Richie? I ain't seen normal since I was 6 years old. Normal is seeing the police ride up to my house, dragging my little 12-year-old cousin out and tying him to a pole, shoving a shotgun in his mouth so hard they bust his teeth, then they bust 2 shotgun shells in his head and knock his out. That's what normal is to me. No police then, I don't no police now. You know what? You can do whatever you want to do. So it don't mean nothing to me for you to show up tomorrow morning with your head blown off. You understand what I'm saying?
Hey, Frank, get in line. That one stretches around the block, too.
All right. What you want to do?
You know what you gotta do.
What you want me to do? Snitch, huh? I know you don't want to give up no cops. What you want? You want gangsters? Pick one. Jew gangsters, Mick gangsters, guineas. They've been bleeding Harlem dry since they got off the boat, Richie. I don't give a no crime figures. You can have them.
I'll take them too.
You'll take them too. No, you didn't. You talking about police? You want police? You want your own kind.
They're not my kind. They're in business with you, Frank. They ain't my kind. They ain't my kind, like the Italians are not yours. All right?
What can you promise me, Richie?
I can promise you, you lie about one name, you'll never get out of prison. You lie about $1, one offshore account, you'll never get out of prison. Now you can live life rich in jail for the rest of your born days, or be poor outside for some of them. That's what I can promise you.
I want them cops, Richie. That's what I want. I want them cops that took that money out of my pockets. Give it to me.
Right. Okay. He's spamming. Yeah. So these guys are all connected up to grid. All right? So this guy here, he's in uniform.
Police officers were arrested today on charges of taking bribes from drug traffickers.
Well done, Jimmy.
The investigation into police corruption has swept through New York's drug enforcement ranks, brought it today with the arrest of under arrest.
In what is being called the city's largest police corruption scandal, 32 more officers were indicted today in federal court on bribery charges.
These police officers will face stiff prison terms, say federal prosecutors, if found guilty.
A report by federal investigators into New York's ever-widening police corruption scandal claims that more than half of the city's officers assigned to drug enforcement have engaged in some form of corruption.
The Elite Narcotics Squad, SIU, had led to the arrest of more New York City detectives today.
Convicted of extortion, members of New York City's Special Investigations Narcotics Unit will face sentencing today in federal court.
You are special.
I need to speak in code on here. You understand this, right? Good. I will speak in code then, but give you enough information and knowledge without triggering the algos. Okay? Great. Silicon Valley and the SBV crash. How are they connected to FTX and scam bankster fraud and his Khazarian nerd harem? How is it all related to cryptos? It's all related to these people, not crypto. Controlled people. Utterly controlled people. These so-called men have no control whatsoever as to what they will say and to what their opinions will be. They say what they are told to say and tell others below them what their opinions are and to repeat them like a broken parrot record. Lawrence Larry Summers, MIT Applied Linguistics, MIT Noam Chomsky, SBF, Masters, Harvard, then president until sacked for sexual misconduct. knows nothing about banking or economics. Alan Greenspan, New York Federal Reserve Chairman. Milton Freeman, Rutgers, Columbia, CIA Applied Linguistics. Blithering idiot. Jim Cramer, Harvard Law degree, zero economic training, bald-headed Mad Hatter with zero intelligence who pumped FTX and wrecked everyone. Ignore him! Ignore him and all of these people. Also, ignore Peter Schiff. Gold, silver coins, art, labor, barter, exchange. Banks cannot control physical delivery of valuable, tangible property. Never trust a banker. It doesn't end well for the bankers. The list of mysterious but obvious killings of banksters is long. The ones who are ordering it will have their time. All banksters and all banks will be old and unneeded technology that people simply do not have time for anymore. It's not as though they can kill enough people to stop the technological changes and breakthroughs that are coming that will render them all obsolete. There will be no more smug banksters and their thousands of years old families, because there will be no banksters at all in existence anywhere. When's the last time you were helped by a bankster? Never. That's when. Don't try and humanize this inhuman occupation of grifters and con men. Worse than lawyers. But I digress. The point of the matter is this is all bullshit. Even the crash is bullshit propaganda. Something is going on, and they're taking out banks everywhere. Credit Suisse is swooning after a fresh cash injection. People in America are starting to take their money out of the banks and put it in credit unions, or take it home and put it in a safe, or a coffee can. Is this Great Reset or Great Awakening? Consolidating banks is Great Reset, but the wiping them out is Great Awakening. So the real question is this the Great Awakening or the Great Reset? I will save you the trouble of years of deep research and thought that I have already done. It is both the Great Reset and the Great Awakening, and you are seeing the endgame master plan come into view. People will say, but in the USA, we have the power to print more money. So what? Another thing you are going to learn is that money itself is not power. Money is a tool. It is no more powerful than a hammer without a hand. A means to an end. If you want an apple at the market, then you give the merchant money for the apple. If you own the printing press that has the exclusive license to print money, then you look like a financial genius, even if you fail over and over again. But when you have to account for and measure every dollar, when every dollar has one value that does not change and fluctuate constantly, like a ruler that is 12 inches one day, 13 inches the next, and 9 inches on Tuesday? No! You cannot make financial and economic progress with a constantly decreasing value of your fiat money. And your fiat money will keep losing value as time goes on. If you set it in a box and leave it alone, it will buy less and less over time. Gold, silver, bonds, maybe if you have millions. But if you're like most people, you need at least some of your fiat to make money, to grow. That is the game. And since it's the only fiat you got, you want to make the most money you possibly can in the shortest period of time. Enter cryptos. Cryptos are just like the internet was, with all of the .coms. Buy the right one, you'll be rich in a year or two if it moons. That all stopped after the .com bubble crash and 9/11. It was years before anyone even talked about the web or internet stocks. Nobody cared for years. Like what has just happened with the pandemic. Imagine that. Both were planned incidents too, but for different reasons. If you bought and held Apple or Google or Amazon all that time, you would be rich off of very little stock bought up front. It was volatile. There is more volatility to come. Cryptos are way more volatile. But I do think we'll have a big crash to clean out all the bad blood money.
From the cradle bars comes a beckoning voice that sends spinning. You have no choice. You have no choice.
that brings us full circle. In the next episode, I will get more into the gritty details of Silicon Valley and its connection to much bigger, sinister events going on in the world. I will also talk about how everything is connected and related. Silicon Valley Bank Group, the largest asset, is Boston Bank and Trust. Boston Bank and Trust located where? In New Hampshire, in a broom closet. What is New Hampshire? The single biggest cartel in America that we know of, with $1 trillion in laundered money located there, protected by lawyers installed at all levels of authority in that state. According to the Pandora Papers and over 200 journalists, the largest money laundering network in the world, with more money than the total market cap of all cryptos. This is just one cartel. Why did Ghislaine Maxwell of Epstein's child rape trafficking network go to New Hampshire and buy a house and wait there to be arrested? Don't you find that odd? Well, it is because a cabinet member of Obama's admin in the Treasury Department owned the house. That's nothing. You just got the tip of the iceberg. Just the tip. More to come. This is just getting started. Buckle up. It's gonna be a bumpy roller coaster ride through hell until we get to MAGA heaven. Until next time, watch your six and keep your head on a swivel. Pink out.
Bye.